Hello and welcome to Kedrick Farms. We're back with another episode of Susquehanna River Valley by Nitrodad, and today we're going to be kicking off our corn harvest in earnest. Previously we have done a little bit of silage on this field, but now we're ready to actually dive into the actual corn harvest, and so I think what we're going to do, I'm actually just going to cut through here. So I'm not sure how this is going to line up, so this will let us kind of keep going in appropriate patterns here. And so we've wrapped up the majority of our harvest tasks here on Susquehanna. This is our last field of the harvest, and so as you can see here, maybe you can see if I can get the numbers over something dark. We're at negative $12,000, and that's mostly from advancing the time here over the last few days, and so we're sitting in a good spot, but we do have to always keep an eye on our cows, and so we are getting ready to start producing animals here. We've got quite a few that are at 0.2, 0.3 years, and so hopefully soon our dairy operation is going to start producing dairy, and we're going to be able to make some money from all of the time and resources that we've invested in that over the last several episodes. And a big part of that is going to be getting some more of this corn so that we can get that going into our TMR production facility. We've got all of the hay already in there. We've got a fair amount of silage already cooking here in our silage bunk, so the last component of that is going to be this corn that we need to put into there. And this field is not too bad. I mean, it's a decent sized little field here. Definitely not the biggest field we've ever harvested, but we're definitely going to take a few minutes here to tackle this, especially with a harvester this size. And of course, because we were struggling to get the GPS set up, we've missed a whole row here. So I'm going to go back and grab this one row, otherwise it'll just absolutely annoy me. And then we're only at 43%, so I'm going to attempt to make another round here, at least while we're on the short rows, and see if we can get to just about a full hopper before we have to dump into the gravity wagons. I'm really hoping that once we get a load of corn here into the TMR facility, that we're going to be able to switch gears and put maybe about half of this field into the grain bins here to hopefully sell at a later point. I'm not sure if this map has the concept of dry corn or not. Let's take a look here. I don't see any dry corn on the list here. And so the fact that we don't have a corn dryer is not a big deal on this map then. I know I did rework the bin site here, so that was why I was a little bit worried that I had gotten rid of our capacity to have dry corn. But that's not a feature on this map, so we don't have to worry about it. But we may still want to sell off a good chunk of our corn just to get some money here as we get into the winter months, because I think a fair amount of our crops aren't going to sell until next summer, such as our soybeans. We'll hold on to until next summer. And then our wheat, I think we're actually going to try out some of the factory mechanics on the map. There is a flour mill, I believe, somewhere on the map that we can take our wheat to and get that turned into flour and sell that for a little bit of increased profits. So I think as soon as we're done with harvest here, we're going to be taking a look at some of those things as we pass the winter months by, since we will have to worry about keeping our cows fed during that time, and so that'll give us a little bit of something to do other than just feed the cows across the rest of the winter time. We're coming up here at the end of our second pass at a little over 80%, it looks like. Not quite. And so this will be a good time to go ahead and get this unloaded while we're here. I could have left our gravity wagons in a little bit better position to unload into, but we can definitely get to this one in the back to start with, and then we might have to realign the tractor and these gravity wagons here to make our life just a little bit easier. Alright, it looks like we're emptied out here. We got that rear gravity wagon about half full. Oh, we missed 5 stalks. It's gonna drive me nuts. So the hope is here that I've picked a good enough spot for the cut through that will wrap up the short rows on my left in the same pass that we're wrapping up the short rows on the right here. I just wanted to avoid having to drive all the way down to the long rows and work my way back up here to finish things off. And so, to be honest, we could probably focus on just finishing off our short rows over here after this pass, as even though we may have some short rows on this end, we can just continue down to the end of the field. So we'll see how it goes once we get up to the top here, how many rounds we've got left, but I think that's going to be the plan here. I'm really curious to see if this corn is going to top off our TMR mix here in the production facility. We've got just enough silage to make, I think we calculated on about 2 years at the current rate, or 18 months or so. And so I'm really hoping that one full load of corn here in the gravity wagons is going to be a good enough equivalent to do the same. If we look at our cows, we need about 56,000 food for the year. And so I think when we were doing our silage mix, we calculated enough silage to do 2 full years. And so I'm going to do the same thing here with the corn and make sure that we're putting at least 2 full years of corn, at the current rate at least, into the silage production facility there. And I do think we're just going to turn to our right here and wrap up these short rows as long as we're over here. That way we don't have to keep coming all the way back over here, and we can go focus on this bigger section of the field and knock those out as a separate pass. And so this will give me an opportunity to also unload the harvester once we get back up here, and then straighten out the gravity wagons, make it so that we can start filling up the middle or the front gravity wagon that we've got there, since normally I wouldn't want to completely fill up the one in the back until there was some weight in the one in the front. At least from my experience, when you're pulling stuff like that, you want to have some of the weight on closer to the tractor. If you have an empty wagon in between the tractor and a full wagon, it doesn't tend to pull so well, in my experience. And we're all done on those short rows. So we're just gonna fly up here real quick. And yes, I'm gonna pick up my 5 stalks since we're right here anyway. Now, I think as long as we're here, we're gonna grab the tractor and just get it turned around real quick into a way that's gonna hopefully be a little bit easier to dump into. So we'll park it right here, relatively flat. Alright, so that should put a little bit of weight in the front wagon there, make things better if I do need to come grab this and bring it down to unload the combine for some reason. And we're going to go ahead and grab this outside row here again and take it all the way down. We might cut through this section one more time, or we might just start working our way around. The rows on the outside there by the trees are going to be just a little bit of an angle, so I'm not sure how I want to tackle those just yet, but we'll figure it out here shortly. It looks like we've got just one more pass on these short rows, so I'm thinking I'm going to turn back around here and try and grab that and head back up the hill. It looks like so far we've been able to handle going on the hill here without losing too much speed with this combine. And so I was a little bit worried about that. This is, really been our first hill harvest that we've had to do on this map. All of our other fields are relatively flat. And so this combine is really champing it out here. We do have the bigger of the two corn heads that came with this pack. And so I've been really impressed with this mod. This is a mod pack that Tired Iron Modding put out a little bit ago. I did a tutorial video on this combine, and it's got two different versions, a couple different headers. And so I'm really impressed with this, and it's a good fit for our equipment on this map. So really enjoying that it's able to knock out these big hills that we've got here. And I think we are going to go ahead and empty the combine out one more time since we're up here, just because we are going to be starting the longer rows, and I'm not sure we'll make a full round with only 43%, or with 43% of our capacity already used, I should say. And so it's easier to just hit it while we're here, and we'll just go ahead and take the same side back down, I think. So one of the convenient parts of having done all of the silage around this field already is that we didn't have to open things up, which can sometimes be a bit of a challenge, especially on a field like this when you get all the way down to the other end and you're full on corn, and then you have to run all the way back up the field to grab the gravity wagons. And so while doing that silage was a little bit of a pain, at least it has the added bonus of making our lives a bit easier here on the harvesting front. And we've taken out the short rows up there, but we had just a little bit of a bump down here to deal with, so we've got everything all squared away. So next time around, as we come down here, we'll be doing the full long rows experience, and so we'll be filling up the hopper just a little bit faster from this point forward. So I think what we're going to do is square off our headland here, and then cut through somewhere maybe around here, just to break things up a little bit, and that will allow us to tackle some of these long rows, I think, and then we'll start working our way through some of these shorter rows without... What I'm worried about is if I went all the way to the outside, I'd be done with the short row about halfway up the field and driving the combine empty. And so if we kind of work here in the middle of our angled rows up there, it won't be quite so much just driving empty on the headlands, and it should be a convenient turnarounds. And then we can also put our auger here to the inside between the crops, and if we do get full, we can come down here with our gravity wagons and bail ourselves out. And so it looks like we're going to be probably just over half full as we complete this pass. And so I think we're going to have enough capacity to probably take one more pass here on the inside, because the rows are just a little bit shorter. It's just a little bit tough to turn on this hill. Don't want to crash into the bushes too much. And we just didn't quite line up as we were coming into the row here. I'm wondering if our GPS is not set up, or if we were sliding on the hill there and we're not sliding as much up here. I'm not sure what's going on there, but our GPS rows definitely didn't line up, so we're going to turn this on. Ah, we have an offset. Well, let's fix that. And let's see if we can get our GPS track to line up here a little bit better with this row. And then hopefully that's not going to be an ongoing problem. It looks like GPS is in the right spot and of the right width. For whatever reason, our GPS track is offset, or our combine is offset slightly to the header. That is interesting. It really shouldn't be the case, though. I'm trying to get a good angle here. I mean, If I look straight down like this, we're definitely lining up on the GPS track a lot better now. That's fascinating. I'm going to leave the lines on here as we make the corner, and I'm curious to see what it looks like once we turn around here. Well, either way, we've got it sorted out now, so we're coming up here on the end of our row. We're at 98%, 99%. I'm really hoping we make the end row. Nope. Just shy. 15 feet. Couldn't make it the last 15 feet. Ooh, we almost hit that branch with the auger. So we're going to go ahead and run this up here and hopefully be able to top off these wagons. I'm going to start in the back wagon and see how far we get. That front wagon looks just about full to me, so I'm pretty sure we're going to top this off with this dump here. There's the back cart. Let's do the front. And since we've still got just about a half a hopper, I'm actually going to leave the combine here. We're going to go ahead and run this up to the farm, and let's see if we can get a bearing on how much silage or how much TMR we're going to be able to make with this much corn. I'm actually not sure what the storage capacity is on this TMR production facility. I suspect that it's quite high though, so I'm not too worried about filling it up anytime soon. And we're gonna put it straight up into here. So let's see if we can line up on this auger. So corn is only 20% of the mixture, and so it'll take a minute to update here. So we're gonna just put both of these in there for the time being, because I know I want at least 2 full wagons of corn to go into here. But if corn's only 20% of the mixture and we've got 11,000 liters in there already, it looks like, that's gonna make 100,000 liters of TMR already between these 2 wagons. And so if we're already at making at least 100,000 TMR and there's 20, so that's going to be enough for almost 200,000 TMR. We're in a pretty good spot. I don't think we need to put any more corn into the TMR production facility right now. In fact, we've got more corn than anything else, and it's the lowest needed item in that mix. So I think we're in a really good spot, to be honest. And so the rest of this corn, I think we're going to toss into the bins just to have some more cash here in the bank in a little while. I don't like sitting at a negative dollar amount, especially considering we have such a big loan out, which is really why we're at a negative dollar amount, is that we were advancing the time and the bank continued to take money out of our account, so we're a bit overdrawn at the moment. I'm gonna top off the front cart here just a little bit, and then I'm gonna pull forward so that the gravity wagons are lined up a little bit straighter here. But I thought as long as we were here, we might as well unload the combine and get it into the front cart like I like it. And now we're good to go to jump back in here and start tackling our corn. I am going to take off just a few more of the angled rows here because we don't have much of a headland pass done on this section, and I think it's kind of what's causing me to leave a few rows here and there. There's just not enough room to really get turned around at the moment, and it'll allow us to tackle those handful of rows that we weren't able to pick up on the way back up the field here. And so now we should be ready to hopefully get 2 rounds in here. We do have this 5% I just picked up from doing those angled rows though, so we might be cutting it a little bit close. We might just try and do the short rows down here on the hilly part and wrap up this section rather than turning back to the inside on the long rows. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll do at least one round here before we do that, just because then I can take the long rows back up to get unloaded by the gravity wagons and be full when we head back up. And so I think that's gonna be the plan at the moment. So we're just gonna turn to the right here and see if we can find the outside-most row on our GPS here. Looking good. Looks like we're gonna miss just a few rows here. Our auto steer isn't exactly the speediest. Well, that's alright. We'll go ahead and just circle back around here. This hill is getting to be quite the challenge. We'll cut right back in here, head back down to the corner and clean up all these bits that we missed. Alright, we're still only at 35% of capacity on the hopper, and so I think we're gonna take our chances and do one more round here on these short rows. There's not that much here. I think in fact we'll be able to wrap it up with this round and then hopefully leave us in a position to take the long rows back up to the gravity wagons to dump. We'll see. We're definitely starting to feel the hill here just a little bit though. Our miles per hour on this harvester are dropping down to 5 here consistently. And so I was wondering when we were going to start to notice the steepness of this hill, and we finally have. And then of course, you know, as you would expect, downhill is a speedy 6 miles an hour. So we're heading back down to the end here. We're a little over half, so I'm feeling confident that we're going to make it back up there on the long rows over here without any problems whatsoever. And I'm kind of curious if this is going to be another situation like the other field there, where we're going to get the gravity wagons filled and have just a little bit left in the combine as well. I definitely don't think we're going to get all this corn into those 2 gravity wagons. I think there's going to be more than one more trip with the gravity wagons, which is good. We definitely can use all of the funds that we can get at this point. I'm not really sure we're turning much of a profit this year at our current rate. I mean, we had a fair amount of money when we started the year off, and now we're well into the hole. So I know we had a number of startup costs and animal costs and stuff, and those are longer term investments that will hopefully start paying off soon, but we're not going to have enough working capital to get seed in the ground next year at this rate. And so that is the current big concern. If we look at our money situation here, we have a $510,000 loan out right now. And so the interest rates are going to just keep hitting us every day here in seasons. And so we've definitely got to figure out how we're going to tackle that. The sooner we can start paying down our loan, the better. Alright, we're at the top. We've got 85% of our hopper full, so this will be the perfect time to unload. I know we've got a good amount in the front gravity wagon here already, so I think we're going to put this load in the back since we're here. And then, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we will get all of this into these 2 gravity wagons. There's not as much of the field left as I anticipated, so I think there's only really one more full round here that we're going to go through. And so that's not going to fill us up. That's probably going to be another, 50% of the combine here. So I don't think 50% of the combine is going to top these 2 gravity wagons off. But we'll go ahead and jump back in here. See how much corn we can get out of our final pass. I don't know if I've noticed the old harvester sitting out in the woods here yet. That's kind of cool. And this is just one of those farm sim oddities where even though we can't see it, technically there's like a half a row here that we're picking up with the header, so it's always interesting to see how things line up. Now we've got the tractor and the auger all set up on the really big bin there. We are going to put our corn into that, even though we've only got a couple of wagons at this point. But depending on the price, we may end up selling it, we may end up hanging on to it. But either way, I want that to be the corn bin because I think that as we replant our larger field 12 here, that's going to end up being corn as a rotation from our soybeans. And so we want to just make sure we've got our bins set up to hold, you know, corn being the highest volume crop that we have. So this is going to wrap up our corn harvest here. So let's go ahead and get this dumped into these gravity wagons real quick here. And then we'll go about getting this stuff into a bin. So we've got all of the corn into the gravity wagons here. So I'm going to go ahead and sneak out of this gate and run this combine right back up to the farm. And we'll get this put away and then go jump back down there and put our corn in the bins. We still need to buy a pressure washer for this farm. I think that'll be a focus for next episode. We'll get a pressure washer set up and clean up all of our equipment for the year. Alright, we're back up here with our corn. We got these pretty full, not completely full, but 79% isn't too bad. 400 bushels is barely going to be a drop into this big bin though. But that's okay. We've got to start somewhere. Now I do need to hop into this tractor real quick and see if we can set this down a smidge. There we go. Make sure that looks all lined up. Good enough. And we're hopefully going to be able to just pull up alongside this and get it dumping in. Alright, let's pull this up and get the second gravity wagon going into here. Looking good. We're going into the bin. Awesome. So let's go ahead and run this back up to the farm here. And we'll take stock of what our totals ended up being here in just a second. We've got about 20,000 liters of corn in the TMR production facility here, which is gonna stretch us out for a couple 100,000 liters of TMR, which is a good spot to be in. And so at this point, we're really just waiting on the hay to continue to make some more TMR. Luckily, we've got about a half a year's supply of TMR here. I just said hay and I meant silage. We're waiting on the silage to make some more TMR. And so let's check on that real quick. I know it's only probably been a day or so since we put that in there, a couple of days since we put that in there. And so, oh no, it's been longer than that because we fasted forwarded a few days. So we've got our silage here ready to go. And so at some point, probably next episode, we'll move all of that silage into the TMR processor here. And we'll be able to take true stock of where we're at from a feed perspective for our cows and see how concerned we should be about that. But at least at present, I'm feeling pretty good about that. And then if we come down over here and bring up the F1 menu, you can see we've got another 15,000 liters of corn in here that we're going to be able to sell off as we get into the winter months. We've got 25,000 liters of wheat and 45,000 liters of soybeans here available to us. So we're definitely set up to make some money here as we get to the appropriate months. And so I'm super excited about that. Hopefully we can make it to that point without going into too much more debt. And then at some point, I'd really like to be able to afford to buy another field I've got my eye on this field 19 up here, although the soil quality is definitely not the best there. And so we might have to look at something like field 13 instead, where we've got some really good soil. That's really solid numbers here, 120% yield potential. And so maybe we'll be looking at something like field 13 here as we get into next spring. And so we're going to really hope that that corn and whatever we're able to do with our wheat here is going to net us some dollars. We may have to do the napkin math on taking out a little bit more of a loan to get to that $60,000 so that we can buy that field as well. I'd really hate to take out any more debt at this point, but we'll have to think that through here as we continue through the winter months. That's all for today. Ketterk, out. And so, alright, so we got it all. Okay, yeah. Seriously, we got a flat tire that way.